So
Wow. It's almost showtime, kitty. It's almost showtime, kitty. It's gonna be the most adorable episode we ever do.
let's see if it's
Kitty.
live yet. You ever type the word Bitcoin out, but it comes out buttcoin?
Oh, dude, I make that typo all the time. I should actually typo to B-U-T-T instead of B-U-T-C-O-I-N.
The thing that pisses me off is, oh yeah, we're live right now.
Kitty, we're live.
The thing that pisses me off is that we end up like I type ducking.
Tell the people.
Apparently my phone thinks that I type ducking all the time.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, because I'm always talking about things, people ducking and
regarded.
Like that. Yeah.
Although you can save certain words, like when they do the air quotes, you can hit like them when it pops up and like hit save word. And I apparently did that on accident. And every time I type shit, it autocorrects to shit, but the shit is always capitalized. It's always a capital S. Oh, and so it won't come up. Like I won't be able to type in fuck, but it saved the word pussyfooting for me because I use pussyfooting every now and then, but it saves it in like my digital typing lexicon.
That's wonderful,
isn't it? I love that word. Pussyfooting, kitty.
Okay, so we are, I believe, live everywhere. I'm just making sure the title is updated. It doesn't appear that it is. F it. Whatever. It says tanks and China banks. But whatever. Here we go. And we'll start recording for the regular podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome in, everybody, to News Made Simple with your host, yours truly, Corey Tusick. And then there's also this guy named Philip Gibson. And then there's Luke Mikic, who is traveling the world down there in somewhere in the southern part of the southern hemisphere. I think he came up to the northern hemisphere and got a little scared. Things were going backwards for him, and the toilets flushed the opposite direction, so he couldn't handle it.
6 months in California will do it to you, Corey.
Oh, 6 months in California. Dude, I was in California for 28 hours. And
that was enough.
Yeah, I was like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
I was really supposed to be there for like 60 hours, but travel made it only 28, and I was there and then I was gone. But anyways, before we get into the news of the week in the shit show that is the Bitcoin space, I want to thank the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin Made Simple. Use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off. And that's not just a promo because they're a sponsor. That's also a promo because Jesus Cristo, you guys need to get your coins off the exchange. Not sure if anybody's noticed, but probably this time next year, all of your coins should be off the exchange, because if they're not off the exchange into your hardware wallet, they'll be off the exchange into somebody else's. So get rid of them, get them off the exchange, clear your digital accounts. Digital wallets don't count, people. Just get yourself a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet and take care of your keys. And let's go to the news.
Corey, here's the news for you. 200,000 Bitcoin left the exchanges in the past week. 200,000 Bitcoin just left the exchanges. If anyone has any sort of Bitcoin left on the exchange, there's a bank run going on. Exchanges all around the world are being absolutely drained. If you wait another 10 weeks to get your Bitcoin off the exchange, guess what? There's not going to be any Bitcoin left for you to withdraw if that rate of supply suffocation continues. Obviously, a little bit hyperbolic, but it could happen. If we continue to see 200,000 Bitcoin leave the exchanges for the next 10 weeks, all of a sudden, there's no Bitcoin on exchanges. There's only 2.1 million coins that's on the exchanges today. So I think people really need to listen to that message. Not your keys, not your coins. This is the time for urgency.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Phil?
Sure.
Well, I don't necessarily agree that, like, I mean, you need to get your keys off or you get your coins off the exchange, take control of your private keys, everything like that. Um, but I guess I don't see that causing a skyrocket in price. Um, but I do hope for people that they do get their coins off the exchange because,
Safety first.
yeah, I mean, I just don't think. To me, I thought that, like, what a good way to artificially suppress the price of Bitcoin, and not that that's what this show and what we're topics about, but like I've thought about that for a long time. I'm like, who is selling Bitcoin? Like, who's out there selling? Like, there aren't
Well,
people selling as much as we think they are, and so there had to have been a lot of paper Bitcoin going around.
yeah, but then people were also liquidating on the exchanges to make good on their liabilities because they're all fucked by contagion from FTX.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a combination of both, but I mean, yeah, I think, I don't know, the Bitcoin will start to dry up here eventually, and you know, if you're looking in the proper time horizon, I think in 12 years the mining reward will be less than 1 Bitcoin. So,
Oof.
uh, so you
Corey,
should.
I feel so rich.
walk me through that logic, Corey. You said that if the coins leave the exchanges, you don't think that's going to have a positive impact on price. Walk me through why you don't believe it will.
Yeah, what did
Um,
McGee say about this?
Yeah, Magoo's has a similar viewpoint as well. He doesn't believe, he thinks that's going to increase volatility. But I probably take the other side of that argument to you guys.
I mean, I think it
Well,
could lead to volatility, like in the short term, but I tend to agree with. I think I've heard some of his thoughts on it. Um, that, like, I think it'll be short term volatile. Because, but like, to put your coins onto an exchange and sell them, it takes like an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Um, like, you get your hardware wallet, you put it over, get it through all the confirmations, sell it, boom. So it's not like, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to, move it. It's, like pennies to send it through the exchange or into the exchange. So it's not like whenever people put them on a hardware wallet, it's never going to move. People could move it in a liquidity crisis if they need to, have cash, whatever they need to do. Um, so they could move back. Now, like, that little gap, let's just say, for hypothetical purposes, if all of the exchanges were drained and there were no Bitcoin available for sale, sure, price would start to go up, but then, within like 40 minutes, somebody would have their coins on there and start selling them. So it's not, I think it would just cause some volatility, but it's just not, to me, I don't think it means like, oh, all the coins are going to be gone, so we're going to go like have this moonshot where it never comes back down.
I agree. People can, send their coins back to exchanges very easily. That obviously makes sense. I just believe that if you look at the on-chain data, it's kind of reflecting that all of these coins are moving to wallets or people who have no intention of selling their Bitcoin. So since 2020, what you've watched is 35% of all the available coins on exchanges leave the exchange, and they're moving to wallets who don't have a history of selling. So they're just simply taking those Bitcoin off the exchange, putting it into a wallet, and the Bitcoins are never moving again. So that's obviously long-term holders. That's how you classify those kind of entities who are withdrawing Bitcoin off the exchange. And I think it's just interesting that Bitcoin ran up from $4,000 in 2020 to $69,000, crashed all the way back down to 30, back up to 69 odd, crashed all the way back down to 17. And throughout all of that volatility, throughout all of those upward price swings, and throughout all of those downward price swings, no real coins flooded onto exchanges. Like from the run from $4,000 to 69,000, I think it was around 70 to 80,000 coins were sent to the exchanges to take some profit and sell a little bit of Bitcoin. But a 60 to 70,000 coins flowing onto exchanges did not change the macro downtrend of 800,000 coins leaving the exchanges. So that's how I see the next 5 years playing out. I think Bitcoin's going to fly up to $500,000 a coin. And sure, you're probably going to get another 60 or 70,000 Bitcoins be sent to exchanges and sold. But I think on the other side of that selling, what you're going to see is the largest capital allocators in the world continue to allocate to Bitcoin, whether that be Microsoft with $250 billion of cash, or Apple with $200 odd billion of cash, or even nation states. So I think as coins leave exchanges, it's going to become incredibly volatile, and I expect it to be incredibly positive on the Bitcoin price.
Sure, but we're in an environment where nobody's buying Bitcoin because we're in a depression.
Everybody's buying Bitcoin. The only reason price is suppressed is because you have idiots like SBF who have $1.4 billion of paper Bitcoin shorts. Meanwhile, they're not holding any Bitcoin on their balance sheet. When the coins are all off the exchanges, you're going to see the true price of Bitcoin reflected in the free
Yeah,
market.
but Luke, this isn't just Bitcoin. No one's buying anything else in the market because, again, we're like in a depression, and with high interest rates, no one has the liquidity to keep buying. Like, I understand that retail buys aren't really going to affect the price. Maybe that's why we're not seeing moves. But I mean, to me, in just my layman's like dumbassery analysis, because no one else is buying anything else in the market, I don't really see how that could really affect the price to the upside. Now, I think it could also go 50-50 because like the lack of volatility in Bitcoin and the lack of volume that we're seeing on exchanges, it could just take one big move to, to the upside or the downside. But I think that the amount of people that are hodling are giving us that support level that we need. And I also believe that there was we saw Bitcoin run up to 22,000 before this crash. And I think that was kind of a coordinated tactic. So either by the banks with futures markets or whatever, but I think that was somewhat coordinated that way because the banks love Bitcoin, as we know. And I think that was coordinated so that they knew they were going to attack FTX, and they knew that doing that would cause Bitcoin to go down, but they kind of suppressed how much it would go down by running up to 22,000 and only going down to like 15.8. So maybe if they're feeling generous again, they would do a similar thing. But for, I don't know, the next 18 months, maybe that's a little too bearish. But I still see, aside from like a Q4 happy Merry Christmas closing where markets all tend to rally, I don't really see like a big kind of uptick in Bitcoin price for the next 18 months.
Yeah, I don't know where Bitcoin's going to be in the next 6 months. I don't do short-term price predictions. I think 18 months out, I think Bitcoin's well above its all-time high again by an absolute long shot. I think price of Bitcoin is set on the margins. Even if there is low volume in Bitcoin, if there's less sellers than there is buyers, I think that's enormously positive for Bitcoin. Just to the point about volume, recently on that crash down, where was the actual bottom? Was it like $15,000 recently?
That's like 15.8, I think.
Yeah, so on that bottom, that day that we bottomed, we actually saw higher volume than we did in the March 2020 COVID crash. So I think there's definitely volume in the markets. I just believe the price of Bitcoin's been suppressed by paper Bitcoin in the past 18, 24 months.
I agree. I mean, the key is you don't want to overextend yourself. Like I always say, don't buy Bitcoin with money that you need in the near future. Make it money that you're okay with stashing away for 4 years and not worrying about. But then also, none of this is financial advice, but that's just what I would say to do. But you also don't want to like hesitate, like, oh, I'm going to catch it at a lower price if you have some of that cash sitting there, because one of these days, we don't know when that'll be, but there will be that day where it takes off again, and you're like, whoops, should have been buying the whole time, So
Yeah, if you have cash now, like buy as much as you can, because I don't think it's unreasonable in less than a year Bitcoin doubles what it's at now. You can take some profit there, like 2x, whatever, if you need fiat.
Yeah, but ultimately, I mean, I don't know. I just don't see how. I don't know. What's going to be the catalyst that pushes us the next time around? I mean, so have you guys heard the theory that people have been floating out there that basically the halving came early?
What?
Because I should have fleshed this out in my mind a little bit more before I started talking about it. But it's basically that saying that the amount of supply, quote unquote, that SBF liquidated means that the halving kind of came early, like the supply shock came early.
Oh, well, that sounds kind of like a moon boy theory, but that'd be cool.
Yeah, be interesting. But then again, like, because there's the weird thing of like all the people that get burned and they don't get their coins are gonna be pissed, obviously. And then if the price of Bitcoin starts to run, they're gonna be trying to buy their real coins and move them into real storage. So that could get interesting, or it could make the price heat up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just in this accumulation stage where I'm like, telling people if you can accumulate, add to your stack. Don't worry about the price. Jesus Christ. Like, just everybody gets so worked up. You can hear the hopium in people's voices. Like it kills me in Twitter Spaces. You can tell how much somebody's dependent on the price going up. You can hear it in their voice. And so everybody needs to just not worry about the price going up. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think the point you made about leverage is a good one. Like I was easily probably one of the more bullish people on Bitcoin Twitter in 2021. And I don't think I ever recommended anyone ever take on leverage. It's very simple. Bitcoin in cold storage, not your keys, not your coins. Don't over leverage yourself. Very simple. Doesn't matter how bullish you are. I'm never going to recommend anyone take on leverage. So I think that's sound advice. Yeah, I mean, the point about hopium, it's price is absolutely irrelevant. I think I see Bitcoin being adopted in a very rapid way, a very accelerated timeline. And I always like to remind people, I don't want Bitcoin to be $20 million by 2030. What I want Bitcoin to be under $20,000 for the next decade. That's what I want. I'm going to accumulate more Bitcoin. I just don't think it's going to play out like that because the markets tend to punish. They tend to punish the most amount of people. And right now, everybody's expecting Bitcoin to be adopted very slowly, or this talk about diminishing returns, or this talk about Bitcoin performing poorly for the next 24 months because global recession, global depression. I just don't think it's going to play out like that.
We'll see what happens.
We shall see. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I think there'll be a run up. I think I think this is so much longer of a play than I even initially thought whenever I got into Bitcoin. I was so afraid that I was late. And now I'm like, oh no, I'm so early. Yeah, let's hit a couple other points. Phil, I know you wanted to talk about the false flag.
Well, speaking of scene, let's talk about CBDCs.
Yes.
In the worst pun ever. But there was a lot of fight going around about the Federal Reserve Bank of New York saying that they're going to do a pilot program for a CBDC. It seems like nobody actually read that report on the Fed Bank of New York's website, where it strictly says it's for a wholesale CBDC, which basically is an updated version of Swift because it's slow and archaic. I mean, it's basically using like the telephone for communication. And that's really all this is. And of course, everybody wants to run with the headline like, oh, the digital panopticon CBDC at the retail level is here. So I guess this FUD is good for reminding people that not your keys, not your cheese kind of thing. And like, this is why Bitcoin is a nice loop around escape from a digital panopticon. But people need to remember that the Fed doesn't want to retail CBDC because Fed shareholders don't want to retail CBDC. Here are the Fed shareholders, the commercial banks, the 12 regional Fed banks. And if you have a retail CBDC, they go away and they lose their power. And the Fed banks are the banking industry is the largest like lobbying backer in the world. I mean, every private equity person will go get preferential rates to get lobby Congress and all this. And that's how they get their shit done. And the creation and preservation of private capital is important because that's how you basically see all your roads and your buildings and all this infrastructure around you. Because, I mean, it's all about the shareholders and what their interests are in those banks. So you're basically talking about the creation and destruction of private capital in the United States and what we have left of capitalism as we understand it. And this capitalism isn't the best thing whatsoever, but it's not communism, what the World Economic Forum wants. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as Powell is at the helm and is completely fucking and bankrupting Europe and Davos, we're not going to see CBDC anytime soon, folks. So you can sleep well at night.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while before we see or worry about something like that.
Now, Europe, on the other hand, is screwed. Maybe you saw Rishi Sunak, the now new left-appointed dictator of the UK, because they more or less like did a coup over there. And a couple weeks ago, he came out with a report how they need to move with haste for CBDC at the retail level. But again, these Davos trolls are having to move with haste because they're running out of time because they're quickly being bankrupt. And there's another thing about how all these Euro banks are having to extend and pretend their loans with this ECB, and they're running out of liquidity as well. I can share that article with y'all if you like in the chat, but it's not looking good for Europe. And we can segue into the whole false flag thing in Ukraine, which is exactly what this missile thing was. They're that desperate to drag the United States into a war. And that is arguably the only way the Fed pivots. So this is just kind of like a similar thing of the UN coming out a few weeks ago saying, oh, Jerome Powell, please stop raising rates. We're begging you. Jerome doesn't give a shit. So again, the only way that Davos wins and deficit spends the U.S. into oblivion and forces them to do so, like they forced them to do so with the COVID spending, is to get them to fight Europe's war for them once again, like they did in the other world wars. And it's not going to happen. Well, I won't say that, but there are people within the State Department and DOD that are just like, this is stupid. And even Piotr, I forget his last name, but guy that is big into geopolitics. I think he works at the World Bank, and he always kind of approaches things in like a politically correct narrative. And I basically said, so Piotr was a false flag. He's like, yes. And it was kind of very revealing to me for someone at that caliber, kind of like agreeing with what this was, because the missile, it was like owned by Ukraine, and it's just, again, this like European Russophobia and racism. And that's what basically this comes down to. And their goal of taking back the world island and having America fight the war for them, or NATO. So with the powers that be and the bifurcation in Washington, I feel like there is strong proponents to not go to a world war. And that's my theory of why Team Fed worked with China to take down FTX, because China doesn't want world war, and so they decide to destroy Davos's honeypot of the creation of euro dollars in the digital realm, which are CBDCs. I mean, not CBDCs, stable coins. So nobody wants to go to war, and they're all just trying to bankrupt Davos as soon as possible to prevent them from doing something stupid, like doing a false flag that will actually send nukes off.
I'm a big fan of anyone that doesn't want to go to war. However we do that. Yeah, I don't have anything really to add to that. Do you, Luke?
No, not really.
No.
It's a good synopsis of the situation.
What's going on?
Yeah, that's how I see it all unfolding as well.
What do you guys think about the potential of this like gross organization FTX? Not to go back to that and harp on that too much, but like the weirdness around it, and then like how weird is it that like New York Times and like Forbes are putting out these puff pieces? Like, I don't know. It just kind of creeps me out that they're like so on board with them. Like, no,
Who
like
is?
there's no New York Times and Forbes.
Yeah,
like, putting out
Davos
these puff
owns
pieces.
the mainstream media. Like this isn't a shocker to anyone. Although there's a Forbes article that basically, I really don't know where the mainstream media is standing with this. Like, so the recent Forbes article basically said the CEO, Harry Potter looking nerdy chick who runs Alameda, they called her like alt-right. And so this is just kind of like the boomer readers that read Forbes. I guess mainstream media is trying to send out to them that, hey, boomers, if you're out of touch with this crypto thing, it's bad. And so they're probably maybe trying to think FTX going down, that's a way for them to blame Bitcoin for this.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, like any crypto that powers that be at Davos can't control, I mean, it's a direct threat to them. So they're probably just trying to send signals to like their boomer readers at Forbes, like, oh yeah, alt-right, boo, bad, keep voting blue, and Bitcoin's just the devil, maybe. And I think that's kind of like a hand-waving thing and distraction to blame Bitcoin and let SBF get off scot-free. Because this guy's got deep ties, and I don't really see him doing any jail time. And in fact, I've also seen rumors that he's going to spin up another company, and like the elitist 1% will want to get like 1% of like equity in that new company, so they can just keep doing their money laundering schemes. So that's why I'm looking at this.
Doesn't sound good. So they're
No.
gonna make. So he's gonna get off.
Yeah.
He's gonna be good to go.
Unlike Bernie Madoff, he'll actually get off.
Yeah, he gave
he'll be
he gave
made
the
off.
Demo.
What? Go ahead.
No, if you give someone $30 million, they're not going to put you in jail. Actually, did he donate even more to the Democrats?
40 million, I believe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
40, and then like this like political cycle, I think he was gonna give them like a total of 300 million or something.
900.
Was it that much? Holy shit! I don't know. It was some ridiculous number that I heard Marty Ben talk about on Glenn Beck, which was fucking awesome. How he was able to get that gig.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just a weird time in the world in general, but it's pretty weird in Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, anything else any other topics you guys wanted to hit on?
Fez Bullard is a badass by just being super hawkish and sending the S&P in a little tizzy the other day. So again, just more evidence that Fed's not going to pivot or lower rates anytime soon. But again, I'm flip-flopping on the idea like maybe that's not going to be the case, because I've seen Daniel DiMartino Booth comment on somebody saying they're going to lower to 50 and then the next one 25 and then 25 after that, and it's just going to be cyclical. And I saw Martina Booth like quote tweet that saying like the goal was always 50, but like maybe that's more hand waving. I don't really know what that looks like. So there's two different strategies that I see happening. One, Powell's just going to be a baller and do like 75 next, 2 times he raises, and then maybe lower to 50 and then like keep it. Like I would love like what Tom says, like we're going to 6% and staying, like that'd be awesome. But then maybe he wants to like be nicer to his shareholders up on Wall Street and slowly kind of like roll it off a little bit and like you do 50, then 25, then 25, then just stay there. So it really kind of all depends. I don't know what it's going to look like, but any narrative that is out there, the Fed takes advantage of it to raise rates, as far as I'm seeing things. Because look, one narrative is that, oh, inflation's high, we need to keep raising rates, and or CPI is high. But then on the flip side of that, every time that Powell raises rates, the market tends to rally, and then people are like, oh, this is great, this gives the Fed plenty of room to raise rates again. So it's like they can't really lose in any of these narrative battles because they just take advantage of what the headline is and run with it and use that as an excuse to keep raising. So who really knows at this point? Like, I know it's just going to still remain hawkish, even if they do kind of do that slow roll, cutting to 50 to 25 to 25. Still, like, it's unprecedented what any Fed chair has done for the past like 20 plus years. So, I mean, not even 20 plus, like fucking since Volcker. So we're coming up like 30, 40 years, whatever. So it's still pretty hawkish from as far as I see. But what exactly the plan is going to be, I don't know. But it's going to remain hawkish to avoid us into getting into World War III.
Yeah. I hope I don't know. I hope they raise the rates. Let's get to 10%.
Let's get to 10.
Let's get to 10%.
Let's just rug pull every fiat bro there. Just make them all feel poor. Because that's what they like to say. Like, yeah, Powell wants everybody to feel poor right now and be poor. But again, it's just like ripping off that Band-Aid. So who knows? We're just talking out of our ass by this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's all I got for now. If you guys have anything else you want to share or close,
the new CEO of FTX says it's a complete failure.
He was the guy that oversaw Enron's.
The CEO or the lawyer? Because there's a new CEO that came in.
I can't remember. Anyway, somebody that oversaw the Enron debacle.
That was a lawyer.
Cleanup. He said it's way worse than Enron.
Yeah.
Which Enron happened when you guys were like 4. So I don't even know if you guys remember Enron.
No. I mean, I know of it. I don't even know about like the Theranos thing.
You guys were still shitting your diapers.
What year was Enron? Like 2002?
2001, 2002, somewhere around there.
Oh.
Maybe 2000. I can't remember. Anyways, not important. You guys were still soiling your diapers, so
well before my time.
But yeah, all right. Well, everybody, we appreciate it. You got to check out the episodes we've done recently, and Luke just released one with Tom Luongo. I haven't got a chance to listen to it, but I will be tuning in. And we appreciate you guys as always. Also, make sure you get your Bitbox O2 hardware wallet and get your your coins off the exchange. Thanks to BTC Pup for making sure that I say coins instead of keys, because I'm a noob and I don't want to sound like a boob. So anyways, and also if you guys want to help Movies Plus, we're kind of getting censored by, like, I don't know, the whole world. Go check out Q Sent Me. It's the docu-series about the Q shaman, the man with the red, white, and blue face paint at the Capitol that you no doubt have seen pictures of. Yeah, wearing the buffalo horns. You no doubt have seen him. You know who he is, and we have the only interview with him. So we're also getting heavily censored at the moment. So if you could go, want to give a middle finger to the man and sign up for Movies Plus, use promo code Corey. You'll get a nice little discount. It'll knock the price down to $2 a month for you. And sign up mymoviesplus.com.
And just on that, if you're butthurt about your vote being stolen, well, that's not going to be the case if you join Movies Plus. Because really, if you think about it, it's a vote for free speech. Like, we're working our asses off to get the best content on there as possible that you can't find anywhere else. We're going to have some exclusive people come on board and deliver the highest quality and the highest of signal. So yeah, if you're tired of all this propaganda bullshit and having your tax dollars go fund people that take over your government and fund wars, then vote for Movies Plus so you can escape from all that. So uncuck yourself.
Yep. Uncuck yourself. We appreciate you guys as always, and we will catch you next time.
Adios.